until the kicking quickened in her belly with hope. The other blind women around her would place their hands on her belly and wait for signs of joy. They would imagine her womb held the Messiah or Moses, some man to lead them far away from there. As her belly swelled, Fumbe tried not to entertain thoughts of another girl. She thought her hands too weak to do what would have to be done. When the 9th month dawned, Fumbe waded out into the gulf until she was waist-high. The women who were blind surrounded her, gripping their feet into the silt. They cried out for Yemaya to lessen the pain. When Yemaya heard them, she rushed to Fumbe, her hands cradling Fumbe's belly, the ebb and flow whispering, "Push." Fumbe's water broke, and she was one with the sea, her child swimming forth with every thrust. The women who were blind braced her arms as she squatted and felt the newness fish from between her legs. Then the women who were blind scooped the child from the waters and held her high in the air, offering her up to the goddess. By now it was night, and the songs of the cicada ushered them into the praises for Yemaya's grace. Yemaya's golden scaled tail caught the kiss of moonlight as she grasped the child and swam circles around Fumbe. The water danced, and her chains chimed a welcome song in motion. She held the child for a moment before she placed it warm against Fumbe's chest. Then she offered a kiss and swam down into the sea, leaving a ripple of light behind her. At the first hold, Fumbe felt the braille of the child's face. A perfect nose, high cheeks, 2 eyes wide open to the moon. She glided her hand around its full belly and healthy legs until she felt nothing more. Then she held her daughter tight and wailed. She knew then her name must be Eshe, for all the life she would have to take was here in her arms. Eshe bloomed early, around 6 months. She said her first word as clear as rain, water, while strapped to her mother's chest in the fields. Eshe would pull at her mother's shirt until Fumbe would douse Eshe's head and arms from her canteen. The heat was unbearable, and even Eshe had figured out the only thing that gave any reprieve. When the workday was over and Fumbe had stumbled back to her shanty exhausted, Eshe would lay beside her and babble while playing with her mother's lips, nose, eyes now patched over. Eshe was the light of Fumbe's day, and all her wonder and curiosity, until the day she turned 2. Now that Eshe was old enough to own her steps, the women who were blind urged Fumbe that the time of mercy was upon her. So one evening, after the workday, the women lined the edge of the field as they had done so many times before. The air was thick and sticky. The women who were blind held their daughters' hands with sight and with mercy. Those daughters still able to see were led out into the forest. Fumbe gripped tight to Eshe's hand and hesitantly pulled her along. The trees heightened, and the form of familiar fruit became more visible in the distance. Fumbe knelt before Eshe, fighting off the tears. She pointed up and told her of the stars and the Big Dipper. Then she promised Eshe the next part would keep them together forever. Eshe looked around and heard the screams of the other girls, but it was too late. Fumbe had hold of her head and began to tremble. The shrieks of mercy echoed through the trees as Fumbe pressed harder and harder until there was no moon. Then she held Eshe tight against her chest. The 2 of them sat among the thicket, consumed by their own tears. Eshe cried herself to sleep, and Fumbe placed her on her back. When she tried to sing, she was muted by pain. Instead, she felt her way back to the group in silence. The next night, Fumbe rubbed Eshe's head and promised the worst was over. Fumbe told Eshe that she had so many things to show her now. Eshe, patched about the eyes, stumbled as Fumbe pulled her out into a clearing a stone's throw away from the birthing place. Fumbe instructed her to listen. There was a way to hear direction just by how the wind blew through the trees. She told her to hear the rustle of the bushes. The small animals only hid west of the plantation. Fumbe ran her bare feet through the blades of grass until she found where the dirt bore its naked soil and the footprints of decades of women radiated warmth. She squeezed Eshe's hand, and just as quickly,